You're listening to the sound of humpback whales singing off the coast of Costa Rica. These songs were recorded by a researcher who studies whales and teaches at the University of Vermont. Good afternoon, and welcome to Across the Fence. I'm Keith Silva. As I was researching today's topic, I learned a couple of facts I'd like to share with you. First, some humpback whale populations migrate almost 5,000 miles every season, which makes them the marathoners of the animal kingdom. And second, speaking of endurance, male humpback songs can last as long as 20 minutes and are often repeated for hours at a time. Singing the song of the humpback whale is a perfect segue to introduce today's guests. Laura May Collado is an assistant professor in the UVM Department of Biology, a native Costa Rican, and she first came to Vermont as a lecturer in 2014 before being offered a tenure-track position on the Department of Biology at UVM. And next to Laura, is Maya Austin, a doctoral student at UVM, who works with Professor Collado in the Whale Lab on campus. Thank you both for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Laura, I provided a Cliff Notes version of your bio. Your academic and scientific background is extensive and exemplary. You've been in Vermont for about 2 decades. What made you decide to stay and work here?
I love Vermont. It's the small town feeling. I'm from Costa Rica, grew up in a small town, so it's really nice to be in a place that is small, that you get to know everyone. And the University of Vermont has excellent students. So I love to work with them. Yeah, and a great department. So I love my department. It's a great place to be.
Great. For those of us that didn't grow up in Costa Rica, the Caribbean, where does your research take place? We've got some maps to sort of give us a sense of where it goes.
So we work in different places in Central America. In Costa Rica in particular, we work on the Pacific side. That's where our studies with the humpback whales are taking place. Throughout along the coast. And then on the Caribbean side, we have projects with dolphins there. There's a species of dolphin that is endemic to Latin America, so it's only found there. And that's one of our study sites.
So there's a little pin drop right about where this little island that is just near where your research is, the whales, right there on the Pacific side.
Yep.
So that little dot is sort of in the middle of the ocean is your office.
That's Caño Island, and that's one of the areas that where we find a lot of the humpback whales. So it's a whale study area. And the whales migrate there. They're obviously not crossing land, so do they go around South America? So those whales are, they're humpback whales on the southern hemisphere, on the Pacific and Atlantic side. They have their feeding areas in Antarctica and different parts of Antarctica. Okay. So the whales that we study, they have their feeding areas in the peninsula of Antarctica and parts of Chile, and then begin the migration north. And Costa Rica and Nicaragua is the northernmost part of their distribution. Oh, okay. So we get kind of the most northern whales.
The end of their journey. End of their journey.
But we also get whales from the northern hemisphere, and that's a different time of the year. So right now, the whales that are in Costa Rica at this point arriving are from California and Oregon, where their feeding areas are. So we are lucky because we have 2 populations of humpback whales that we can study.
Talk a little bit about your research. What are the questions that you're trying to answer?
So we have 2 kind of set of categories of questions that we ask. We have the more biological ones, which are basically the part of discovery, right? What are the signals that these animals are producing? Not just the whales, but also all other marine mammals in the region. And so we want to understand what is the collection of sounds that they're producing. Do they share signals? Are they specific signals that are unique to each of these species? And what can those signals tell us about how they live, right? Their daily lives. Right. And then the other set of questions are more applied. So how do we use this biological information to understand what are the potential impacts of increasing underwater noise from human sources? These animals evolve in a space where light dissipates very quickly. So if you have scuba dive or snorkel, you know that even when the water is very clear, you can't see that far. So sound has become a solution for these animals to be able to keep contact with each other, even when they can't see. But as we have become users of this space too, we have brought with us a lot of noise.
Right.
And we want to understand how that noise can impact their communication. So we have this kind of two different approaches.
Okay. Humpback whales measure anywhere from 40 to 50 feet long and can weigh nearly 40 tons. When you're out on the water, is there any worry that the animals are too big, or do you get scared, I guess?
I never get scared. I love to be close to the animals, but we try to avoid that because we're working in a tiny boat.
Right.
And we have all our equipment, and we're very careful. So as scientists, we have a set of rules on how we to behave in the water so that we can get the best quality data that reflects the behavior of that animal, so we can be interacting with them. But yeah, they're impressive. I mean, when they're jumping out of the water, this huge animal, and sometimes we get splashed. It's just an amazing experience.
And you were saying that you use local guides and local boats, so the people who are piloting the boats have experience being around these larger animals, and there's less. They know what they're doing, so they know how to avoid them. And speaking of knowing what you're doing, you brought one of the tools that you use to record the whales. What is this?
So we can be in the water all the time.
Okay.
So we need ears in the water.
Okay.
So when we are not there, we have several of these already in the ocean in different parts of Central America. These are called sound traps. It's from a company in New Zealand, and they're very compact. So we have a structure on the bottom of the ocean, usually 25 meters, 30 meters in depth, and we attach them, we program them to record sound at specific periods, times, and we leave them there. This one can last for 3 to 4 months. There's another underwater, and then we have 2 more that can be there for almost a year. So we when we're there, we can associate what we hear with what we see. But when we're not there, we can get all that information from what is happening in the ocean. Not just the whales. We get dolphins, we get fish, we get boats, we get a lot of things.
So there's one of these under the water right now, down where you're hearing, because the
multiple.
whales are there. You said the whales are there right now.
We have at least 5, 6 already underwater. Yeah, in Costa Rica and in Panama, on both the Pacific side. All of them are in the Pacific side to monitor both populations, the northern and southern whales. Yeah.
Maya, how did you get interested in whales?
I had kind of a roundabout journey. So I was very interested in whales when I was a kid. My grandparents gave me a subscription to National Geographic for a birthday present when I think I was like 8 or 9. And I read every issue. And then when I went to college, I kind of pivoted and went into more human cognition and linguistics. And then I played around with that for a little bit, but then I took an animal communication class, and it was like the perfect blend of the two things I wanted to.
At UVM?
No, this was at my undergrad at McGill University in Canada. Yeah, and it was a very perfect blend of doing stuff with animals and doing stuff with some kind of communication and linguistics, which I really loved.
Does it help to study whales in the fact that you do get this Caribbean vacation every once in a while?
Yes, it's definitely a good plus. It's very nice. It's much nicer than going to, for instance, like Alaska or Maine. It's a little bit warmer.
A little bit warmer. A little bit warmer. You're working though. It's not all. It's not all sunny.
Very serious when we're on the boat.
Exactly. Laura, how would you describe a humpback song? We heard some of it at the very beginning of the program. Is there a rhythm? Is there a beat? Is there anything we express it as music, but is it music like we think of music on the radio or whatever?
The song is complex. It has all these different themes that the whale repeats multiple times, right? And so it has this kind of melody that definitely has a rhythm. And that's one area that another student in my lab is interested in pursuing. And I think for what makes them so attractive to the public is that in a way it's like music, right? It's kind of melancholic, right? It makes us think. So the song consists of themes. Each theme has specific phrases, what we call phrases, similar to what a songbird, right? And then these phrases are divided into small units. So we study how that song changes over time, and what signals, what units are dropped or incorporated in the song.
Right.
So that's basically what we do.
Now, male humpback whales sing female humpback whales do not? Do not ever, or we just don't know that yet?
No, but since the 70s we've been studying these animals, so
Right.
I think there's enough evidence to say that the females don't sing, but they do produce sounds.
Okay.
And these sounds are very important because are used to coordinate when they're foraging, when they're with their calves. So there's a series of more what we call calls that are individual units that are not stringed together in a song. And these, there has been several studies that have shown their importance in areas of congregation and feeding areas, or as the animals are traveling. They can be very important, mother-calf communication, for example. So they're more quiet.
Quiet.
And there's some studies that have suggested that they're quiet because females don't want to call attraction from males, especially in breeding areas, because males can be very intense and can jeopardize, the health of the baby.
Right.
So yeah.
So that probably makes sense. That probably transfers to other species. Maya, you're not just along for the ride here. You're a member of the research team. Talk about what you're discovering and learning.
Yeah, so I work more so with dolphins, which are actually a subset of whales. But a lot of what I do is looking at different computational tools, because we have a lot of cool tools with machine learning and artificial intelligence that let us analyze those things, like the different units, and like Laura was saying, with the different units and the different which ones are included versus which ones aren't. But we don't have a lot of good ways to compare those across different species or across different populations. So I'm really interested in trying to kind of bridge that gap, as opposed to just looking at one group, seeing how we can compare between different ones to answer cooler questions.
And is this something that you've nearly completed your doctorate, correct?
Yes, I have about 2 years left, I think.
2 years,
Yeah.
okay. In academic time, that's
Yes.
no time at all. 2 years.
Yeah.
Are you planning on continuing to study whales, or?
I think so, yeah. I think I want to stay in academia. I really love studying whales, and I've learned so much in the lab that it's been really great, and it's really given me a passion that I want to carry forward.
What's not to love?
Yeah.
Thank you both very much. If you've enjoyed our conversation with Professor May Cajado, join us again tomorrow for part 2, when we dig deeper into the science of whale song. I also want to mention that Professor May Cajado and her research at UVM are the feature story in the fall edition of the UVM magazine, which is available now and online at the address on your screen. And as always, thank you for stopping by Across the Fence.